So what is the single biggest headache for a major crypto exchange? Well, it's connecting to dozens of different blockchains, and every single one of them speaks its own unique technical language. Today, we're going to dive into how Cardano is solving this with a really critical tool called Rosetta. And believe me, this isn't just some dry technical update. It's the story of building the professional-grade plumbing for a global financial system. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the what Rosetta even is and why it's like a universal translator. Then we'll walk through its evolution over a year of really intensive upgrades, which led to this massive performance jump with version 2.0. After that, we'll look at what's next on the road ahead. And then finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this kind of back-end engineering is just so incredibly important for Cardano's future. All right, let's jump right in. First things first, what in the world is Rosetta and what problem was it actually created to solve? Okay, so put yourself in the shoes of a huge exchange, like Coinbase or Kraken. You have to connect to dozens of different blockchains, right? And each one is completely different under the hood. It is a massive, massive headache. Rosetta is the answer. Just think of it like a universal translator. It's an open source standard that creates one single simple way for these giants of the industry to plug right into Cardano. And I mean, the difference is just night and day. Before Rosetta, every single exchange had to build these incredibly complex custom integrations from the ground up. It was a huge barrier to entry. But now, the entire process is standardized. This just dramatically cuts the cost and the complexity, making it way, way easier for major institutions to get on board and support Cardano on their platforms. But here's the thing. This tool hasn't just been sitting there. Nope. It has gone through a full year of constant, focused improvement, taking it all the way from version 1.2 up to 2.1. This timeline here gives us a fantastic bird's eye view of that whole journey, from the early days of performance tuning all the way up to adding full-blown governance features. But you can really group all of these updates into two main themes. One, making it faster, and two, making it way more powerful. So first up, speed and scale. This was a direct result of feedback from the exchanges themselves. They said, hey, we need this system to handle more users, more transactions, and more requests all at the same time, without even breaking a sweat. And these weren't just random tweaks. They were very targeted, high-impact changes. For example, adding hardware profiles allowed it to scale up vertically, boosting the capacity from around 10 concurrent users to over 40. Turning on pruning by default was another clever move. It automatically clears out old data to save disk space and speed things up. And switching to something called structured concurrency meant it could handle tasks more efficiently, which lowered memory usage. But it wasn't just about making it faster. The team was also laser-focused on expanding Rosetta's feature set to make it more useful and just plain easier for exchanges to work with. For instance, they added full support for Cardano's on-chain governance, which is huge because it allows exchanges to participate directly. They also integrated Cardano's token registry, so things like token logos and the correct number of decimal places just show up automatically. They even built these pre-configured monitoring dashboards, which saves exchanges a ton of time and effort they would have spent setting up their own systems. So, all of this continuous work led up to this one landmark release, version 2.0. And this wasn't just another small update. No, this was a fundamental redesign of the database, something they planned for months to deliver a truly revolutionary jump in performance. You see, the team had a bunch of database improvements ready to go, but they weren't backwards compatible. And asking an exchange to do a full resync from scratch, well, that's a huge deal. You can't just do that every other month. So they smartly bundled all these breaking changes into one major, once-a-year release to get it all done in one shot. And the payoff was totally worth it. One of the key changes was to wait until the very end of the sync process to create the database indexes. Now, I know that sounds super technical, but the result is crystal clear. The time to sync the entire blockchain from day one was slashed from 52 hours all the way down to just 37. I mean, that is a massive win for anybody running this infrastructure. Okay, so what's next on the horizon? Well, the work is far from over. The team has a really clear prioritized roadmap to keep this evolution going. The whole roadmap is broken down into these really clear priority tiers. And the strategy is smart. It lets the team focus on the most urgent stuff first, while also laying the groundwork for some major long-term improvements down the line. The high-priority items? They're all about staying current and professional. So that means adding support for something called Helm charts, which is an industry standard tool the exchanges specifically asked for, and making sure Rosetta is 100% ready for the upcoming Chain hard fork, Cardano's next big network upgrade. It's all about keeping up with the needs of the network and its most important users. Now, sitting there in the medium priority list is a real game changer, UTXO-HD support. This is an upcoming feature for the Cardano node itself, and it's projected to slash the RAM requirements from 24 gigabytes all the way down to just 8. It's all part of this bigger idea to scale to zero and make running this whole stack dramatically cheaper. And this quote from the development lead really just hammers the point home. When you combine UTXO HD with the other memory-saving tricks they have planned, the total system requirements could plummet from 64 gigs of RAM down to only 16. That is a huge shift, and it makes the whole thing so much more accessible and affordable for everybody. Okay, so we've looked at the past, the present, and the future of Rosetta. Now let's just zoom out for a second. Why does any of this technical stuff actually matter? What is the big picture here? Well, at the end of the day, this isn't just about one piece of software. It's a really powerful signal of the Cardano ecosystem's growing maturity. It's about building the quiet, reliable, professional-grade infrastructure, the essential plumbing that you absolutely need for any kind of large-scale adoption. So the key takeaway is really clear. All of this super technical work is absolutely fundamental to the long-term health of the network. It makes it easier for the biggest players to get involved, it shows a development process that actually listens to its users, and it lays this rock-solid foundation for future growth. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As this whole blockchain space keeps evolving, it's worth asking, will the most crucial, long-lasting victories be won, not by hype and marketing, but by this exact kind of quiet, persistent, and essential engineering? Thanks for joining this explainer.